question is how you check out. Do you want it on your feet? Or on your fucking knees? Begging. I ain't much for begging. Nobody ever gave me nothing. So I say, fuck that thing. Let's fight it.
Alien 3 is a divisive movie within the Alien series. It had the impossible task as the follow-up to James Cameron's mega hit Aliens from 1986. There was really no way to top its predecessor. Cameron's version was beloved and respected for its action and its ability to extend on the original's mythology. Not as flashy as its predecessor, nor as scary as the original, Alien 3 brings drama and character. Plus, I give Fincher props for not following Cameron's play-by-play copy of Scott's version. I especially enjoy the clever way the alien dies in Fincher's movie, as compared to the alien being blown out of the goddamn airlock twice before. Although Alien 3 was created with the odds already against it, facing several script revisions and production problems, I believe what makes Alien 3 lack coherence is its inability to maintain its themes. For this film analysis, I'll discuss the assembly cut of Alien 3 because it shows more instances of Christianity than the theatrical cut, and how the symbolism of Ripley's character as a religious presence is poorly written. The religious symbolism in Alien 3 is everywhere. From sacrifices and confessions to song lyrics and crosses, the representation of Christianity saturates this film. But what I find more interesting is how Ripley is depicted as a corrupted form of religion that specifically combats the convicts' peaceful version of religion. Before Ripley arrived, there was no mention of murder or disharmony. Even as negative as they might have gotten with each other at times, the convicts always tolerated each other.
Garlic is just another poor, miserable, suffering son of a bitch, just like you and me.
I thought women weren't allowed.
Well, we've never had any before, but we tolerate anybody. Even the intolerable.
However, when Ripley arrives, unknowingly impregnated with a queen alien, she brings more than just sexual tension to the convicts. Her presence brings murder and temptation. She's an anti-Christ figure among the convicts, there to mock their faith and bring them punishment for their sins. As sequels go on, any subtext used in prior stories tends to get squeezed into actual text in simple plot points rather than the clever subtext they were originally used for. The same goes for Ripley's impregnation, but in a unique and also cliched choice by the producers, her pregnancy becomes juxtaposed in a religious sense because of the devout convicts, leading Ripley's character to now mirror a dogmatic icon, the Virgin Mary, who will eventually give virgin birth. And the alien inside her reflects an evil Christ figure the Weyland-Yutani company desperately wants because they need it to make more obedient, deadly workers.
Ripley, think of all we could learn from it. It's the chance of a lifetime. You must let me have it.
The cremation scene is when the religious and alien subjects become mixed. The parallel of religion being set up to be used as a negative is very noticeable. As Dylan gives his speech honoring the dead Hicks and Newt, the scene cuts away to the birth of the alien, either from an ox in the assembly cut or a dog in the theatrical cut. We first see Ripley's connection as a Christ figure when she enters the mess hall after the cremation scene. There's a huge cross symbol as a wall decoration directly behind her. The blocking in this particular shot obviously is done to highlight her presence as sacred. Gallic, the crazy inmate who later witnesses the alien kill 2 other inmates, immediately crosses himself when Ripley enters the mess hall. He's doing so because Ripley's presence is testing his sexual temptation. Technically, the alien's first appearance is during the cremation scene where Dylan gives his eulogy, symbolizing the connection between the alien and faith. But its first human kill comes when Murphy is cleaning the ventilator shafts. He's singing a song from 1969 called In the Year 2525 by Zager and Evans that discusses what life would be like in the future. It's a very good song actually because it talks about many things that present-day society is going through. But anyways, there's a lyric about God in the middle of the song. Those lyrics that Murphy is singing is not by accident. It's as if the Angel of Death, Ripley's alien counterpart, appears when God or faith is mentioned. The writers could have used any lyric of the song to use at that moment, and they chose those specific lyrics to quickly foreshadow that the alien responds to mentions of God. Even the 3 inmates who are working details in the tunnels have a quick discussion about God and swearing before the alien arrives. And when the alien does appear to one inmate, his cross tattoo on his forehead is seen upside down when the alien attacks him from the rafters.
Can't you throw a little quieter? I'm trying to figure out how big this compartment is. I can't think with all this goddamn noise you're making. I'm sorry.
The cross symbol on a forehead in the Catholic tradition represents one penance for their sins. They acknowledge their past wrongdoings, and by wearing the cross on their forehead, it signals to others of their regret and hopeful forgiveness. With the exception of St. Peter, who was crucified upside down, an upside-down cross is knowingly used in satanic rituals. And that's what the alien represents, a devil, an angel of death that appears when summoned. These implications of death by the alien and the mentioning of God seem not to count when discussing Clemens's death scene. For the longest time, I just couldn't understand why they would choose to kill off what had seemed like the leading male character in the movie. Clemens isn't a crazy psycho convict like the others. He's an educated man who made a mistake, and you can tell he suffers much regret.
Boiler had blown on a fuel plant, and there were 30 casualties. And 11 of them died, not as a result of the accident, but because I prescribed the wrong dosage of painkiller. I got 7 years in prison and my license reduced to a 3C.
But he accepts his fate and makes the best of it. That's why I couldn't understand his death. His death scene doesn't include any mention of faith or religion out loud, but he does make a confession to Ripley. It's not your typical confession scenario where a parishioner goes into the confession booth and tells a priest of his or her sins to receive forgiveness. But, in essence, that's what Clemens does. He confesses his sins to Ripley. There's even a few shots of stained glass windows in the room, much like the stained glass windows in many Catholic churches. So, the room, though a simple infirmary, has the implications of a holy setting. And just before the alien appears as a result of his confession, Clemens receives his absolution from Ripley by letting him give her a shot of medicine.
Do you still trust me with a needle?
Clemens dies because he confessed his sins to a corrupt person. Ripley is kind and brave and honorable, but the devil she carries in her womb, although unknowingly at this point, corrupts her kindness and brings death. Before the film takes a turn and becomes a plot-based mission to destroy the alien, it takes the life of Supervisor Andrews. Other than the prayer just said by Dylan before the meeting, there aren't any religious references. But the alien appears and kills Andrews. Like Clemens' death, there aren't any mentions of God to call the alien. But Andrews was the only one Ripley confided her secret of the alien to.
It's an 8-foot creature of some kind with acid for blood, and it arrived on your spaceship. It kills on sight and is generally unpleasant.
I know 85 was there, but he seemed to be hiding his genuine fright from Andrews. I think 85 somewhat believed her. I don't think 85 was as stupid as the movie made him out to be. He was just dumb on paper, but he was likely smart in other situations. Andrews dies because he was a non-believer. He was given the information about the alien directly from Ripley, and he blatantly disregarded it. You could say that in a religious way, Andrews was the atheist in the group. Believing Ripley without seeing the alien for himself depends on faith, to which Andrews did not have. He was always mentioning facts and dispelling rumors. He didn't have faith because he needed evidence.
And of course, you expect me to accept all this on your word. This is rumor control. Here are the facts. I am not interested in your opinion because you are not in full possession of the facts. All right. Once again, this is rumor control. Here are the facts.
And this is where the film loses its corrupted angel symbolism. From this point on, the alien appears and kills others randomly. It doesn't come when someone mentions God or invokes faith of some sort. The first half sets up that subtext beautifully. I wish it could have been kept up the entire rest of the film. In fact, the corrupt angel symbol suddenly becomes reversed. We begin to see a few instances of religious moments, but they aren't deadly nor dangerous. For example, after the alien attacks the inmates and explosions commence, in the assembly cut, Ripley actually puts out an inmate who's on fire. This inmate previously attempted to rape her in the first act, but Ripley, acting as a Christ figure now, helps him, forgiving his sins. This prompts another inmate, Junior, to sacrifice himself by having the alien chase him into the toxic waste room to catch the alien. He sacrificed himself. Later, Dylan does too, as does 85. And Ripley sacrifices herself to stop the company from getting the alien inside of her. Strangely enough, the angel of death that Ripley has maintained during the first half of the film immediately disappears when Andrews dies.
Get that foolish woman back to the infirmary!
It's as if proving to the non-believer Andrews that the alien was real was the true intention of the first half of the movie. Ripley doesn't change in character after Andrews dies, but who she associates with does change, leading to her symbolism changing too. Whereas the first half sees Ripley give her attention to Clemens, who was indeed an inmate at one time, she begins to associate with Dylan in 85. Dylan is an inmate with no official corporate allegiance, and neither is 85. Yes, he's typically a member of the company, but he doesn't possess the same domineering authority as Andrews, thus making 85 more like a prisoner than a corporate slimeball. Without an authority figure represented by the company as an adversary, the need for Ripley to continue her Angel of Death persona is not needed. That's why she begins to take on a more positive role, helping the inmates with their work, conversing with them, leading them, and even saving them from harm. This disjointed symbolism from deadly to savior is what makes the narrative fall apart. In order for the change of Ripley's symbolism to make sense, she would have had to make a change in her character somehow, that also changes what her symbolism suddenly means after the death of Andrews. The writers tried to overload the Ripley character with opposing symbolism, and it does not work.